already. Can't believe it is already 4 of us, and we just one more day left. Well, as always, I am just so thrilled to be able to share with you. And as I've told some of you earlier, that there are certain parts of my story that when the publishers read them, they said, no, we can't publish this because there's just no way this happened. And they said, we're going to investigate this, so this is your time to pull it out or whatever. I only told you exactly what happened. And so when they did their investigation, all the stuff they did, they came back and said, as I've told the other group, that you left stuff out. There was more stuff in there that you could have said. And I said, I told you, it's exactly the way I said. And so the story that I'm going to share with you today is probably one of the stories that if I didn't live it, I don't know if I would believe it. And it just shows once again how powerful God is in situations that we ourselves might consider completely hopeless, and situations that we might seem impossible. Now, the scripture that I want to share with us today is taken from the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 8. And it's a passage that many of you have heard before, but let me just read it to you at this time. That's Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And it simply says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and have been called according to his purpose. Now, what this verse is basically saying is that all things work together for good. It didn't say that some things, didn't say like little things, but it said that all things work together for good. Now, I understand it's easy to agree with this verse when things are working good in your life. We can all agree, oh yes, God's there, my higher power, he's there. But the true test, once again, is when things don't work out the way you've planned them in your mind. There's an old Jewish proverb that says that we plan and God laughs. Let me repeat that. We plan, but God laughs. And what makes that so powerful is that we have to understand that God sees the big picture. It's as simple as that. That he can see that if A connects with B and B connects with C, if you were to allow him to be the one to put the pieces of the puzzle together, it would cause us a lot less stress in our lives. And so the story that I'm going to share with you today is a story that, like I say, if I didn't live it, I don't know if I would believe it. Now, those who weren't here yesterday, I told you how I graduated from basic training at Lackland Air Force Base and how God had did a miracle. That I had friends that I had prayed with and stuff, and they all stood up for me. And then to make matters even more amazing, that my training instructor ended up accepting God, and later on in life ended up becoming a minister. And he quotes me as one of his influences. Now, you can imagine when I left basic training, I was on a spiritual high because I had seen God work, I had seen God do miracles, and I just thought, man, this is so great. I'm so glad I just had given my life to God for the first time, really, and this was just amazing. And so now I originally trained in the Air Force. I don't know if any of you remember this, what the recruiter signed me up for. Does anyone remember? To be an assistant to a chaplain. And so I thought, man, God had it all worked out. That he had already started working me as an assistant to a chaplain. This is going to be just even better than I imagined. And so I remember our very last day of basic training after graduation, everyone said their goodbyes. And then what you had to do is they gave you a number, and your number was the bus that you would go on to do your training. Now, my assistant chaplain training, and it was basically going to be like a secretary, the one who sets up the office and sets up the stuff in the rooms and all that stuff. And my training, I'll never forget, it was going to be in Denver, Colorado. And up in that time, I had never been to Colorado before. I was so excited that I'm going to go there, and once again, I had said that God had already started doing miracles in my life. So I'm going to be the best assistant chaplain in the world. I'm planning it out in my mind of how great it's going to be. Well, I say goodbye to my friends. I get on my bus that they assigned me to that should be taking me to the airport. And all I can tell you is a line of buses, probably 12, 15 buses, and they're all driving out together. Every one of those buses made a right and left the gate, except for my bus. The bus that I was on with the guys I was with, and these are guys I've never seen before, we're all there together. Our bus makes a left and goes deeper into the base. And I remember thinking, this is even better than I imagined, because they're going to probably go on a commercial airline, and we're going to go on a military airline. They're going to take us to a military airstrip. This is going to be even better than I imagined. I'm so excited. Well, our bus stops, and it was not an airstrip that it stopped at. Where it stopped at is a big sign on this great big building, and it simply said this: United States Air Force Police Academy. And they're telling everyone to get off the bus. So I'm thinking, Police Academy. That's right. They have chaplains that are assigned to the police departments. And this is even better than I imagined, because I'm going to be an assistant to a police chaplain. Man, God, this is so exciting. So I'm just pumped up. I'm just so excited. So we get off the bus. They have us line up in a great big row. All of a sudden, this great big truck pulls up. A guy opens up the back of the truck, and we're in this line, and they start handing out M16 rifles. They're saying, take one, pass it down. Take one, pass it down. Take one, pass it down. So when they get to me, I'm holding my rifle, and I said, wait, excuse me. And so I stopped this whole line of guns going down the row, and I said, no, I'm not going to need this. I'm going to be a chaplain here. I should have known I was in trouble right then, because a sergeant ran over to me and said, son, what did you just say? You stopped my assembly line. What did you just say? I said, I'm going to be an assistant chaplain. All of a sudden, he starts laughing. He says, what? You're going to be a what? He says, wait right here. Don't leave. Please don't leave. Don't leave. I'm wondering, what? So he comes back, and he has like 6 guys with him. He says, say it again. Tell them what you're going to do here. I said, I'm going to be an assistant to a They all started laughing. They said, son, you are in police academy. Oh my goodness, that's the funniest thing we've ever heard. They are laughing and different things, and that's when I knew I was in trouble. He says, well, step out of the line. Just simply step out of the line, and we'll figure this out. So they kept giving guys their guns, and they told you to memorize their number on the back of the gun, all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there standing to the side. And so then he comes back. He says, I'm going to make a phone call. And he makes a phone call, speaks to the commander, and he says this: Terry, I have some bad news. There's a gentleman by the name of Herbert Johnsson, and Herbert Johnsson is on an airplane headed to Colorado, and you're in Herbert's spot here in Police Academy. He said, this is the funniest thing ever. And so the commander said that we'll work this out. You stay here for a couple of days, and we'll get it sorted out, and we'll figure out how we're going to switch you to. Now, all I can tell you is that if there was ever a fish out of water in Police Academy, I was it. I don't know if you ever remember the movie Police Academy, the movie. I was every character you could imagine there. And since I made that comment about the Bible, everyone started calling me Preacher Boy. And those 3 weeks were just literally out of control. They would use me first for every demonstration. In fact, I'll never forget this, that they wanted to show us something called the M203 grenade launcher. And what the grenade launcher does, it fits on the bottom of your M16, and you put a grenade in there, and then you can fire it. And so there's like 50 of us, and they're training us all day long. We're taking it apart, putting it together, and then the final thing is we're going to go out and demonstrate. So there is an old house that had been there. They couldn't tear it down because it had been there since David Crockett days. And if you can just imagine what this field where we're practicing firing at, all I can tell you is imagine a golf course with markers that says 50 yards, a big sign that would say 50 yards, another sign that would say 100 yards, and another sign in the distance that would say 150 yards, and then in the far distance was this historical house, just way out there. And so they wanted someone to demonstrate how this thing works. So the sergeant looked around and said, where's that preacher boy at? I raised my hand, says, come in here, get in the hole with me, come down here. So I get in the hole, he says, I want you to demonstrate this, and I want you to fire it at the 50-yard mark. So what you do is you tilt it up, and the more you tilt it up, it's going to go up and come down. So this is the angle. I want you to look at the little 50-yard mark, and you just hold it up like this, and you fire it, it's going to go up, it's going to come down. And so all the guys are around, they're all excited because they wanted to be the ones to first demonstrate this. I didn't want to do this at all. So he gets out of the hole, I'm there, and I have the thing just like he said, I'm looking at the target, and I'm thinking, with my bad luck, this thing is going to go up in the air, and it's going to come down in this hole with me. Now, I know he said tilt it this way, but I'm going to put it down a little farther. He says, Johnsson, go ahead and fire the thing. I said, you know what? I'm going to make sure this grenade doesn't even come near me. And so I tilt it down even more. Johnsson, do I need to get down there with you? Fire the thing. I tilted it even more. Johnsson, fire. I pulled the trigger. The thing went straight like a missile. It hit the front of the historical house. Boom! Pieces of the house is flying up in the air and coming down. They are in absolute shock. I had just hit the historical Davy Crockett house. In fact, I looked at the guy, his mouth was open. I said, I told you I don't like guns. And friends, it was just crazy things. All I can tell you, I went from preacher boy to being called Gomer Powell. And those who are old enough, you know who Gomer Powell was. That was my name. If you talk to anyone in Police Academy, they don't even know my name, Terry Johnsson. It's Gomer. He said, that black Gomer? Oh my God, he was so funny. And I just tell you story after story. In fact, one of the things I'll never forget is that they wanted to teach us how to jump off of a house, kind of a SWAT team. So they had a mock little warehouse, and all day long, once again, you do all this day long, you're training, you're reading books, and you're reading the manual how to do it. And all they wanted us to do was we'll go on a roof, they would put a harness on us, and the harness had a release button, and all you had to do is just simply like rock climbing, just swing down, and as soon as you swing down, there was a fake door there, a fake window, because as soon as your feet hits it, it automatically opens up, and then it swings you inside. So it's almost just like a swing. You're coming down, and you're just simply going like this. And then as soon as you get inside here, you hit the harness release button, you take your gun, and you go like this. That's all you had to do. And all day they're teaching us this backwards and forwards. They're demonstrating it. So finally the guy said, we need someone to demonstrate this. Who wants to go first? He said, no. Where's Gomer at? I said, sir, I don't understand. I don't like any of this. He said, come on up here, Gomer. So I go up on this roof. It's like 3 stories up. I put my harness on like they said. He said, all right, go ahead and jump. And to this day, I don't know what happened. I jumped, and all I remember was that I was sideways, and then somehow I remember I was completely upside down. And instead of it hitting the door, the little window thing that opens, I hit the side of the building. Bam! Like that, upside down. And then I'm upside down, I didn't know what to do, and so I hit the harness release button, and I fall around 2 stories through the, boom! It was like a cartoon. A little cloud of dust went up, poof, and the sergeants are just looking in absolute shock. They can't believe Gomer has just fell off of the building. And they finally rushed over there, and they see me, and they saw that I was okay, and they just started laughing and laughing. That is the craziest thing we've ever seen. And friends, once again, I could just tell you a story. If there was ever a fish out of water, and I remember thinking, God, you just got to get me out of this place. This is just, I don't like this stuff. You got to get me out of here. Well, by that time, after being there for that period of time, I received a phone call, and it was from the commander. And so all the sergeants took me in. They wanted me to speak to the commander. And the commander said, Terry, we have some bad news. We've decided, since Herbert's already did 3 or 4 days of chaplaincy training, and you've already did 3 or 4 days of police academy, we're going to have both of you just stay where you are. The only option we'll give you is that if you want to go back home, since this was our fault, you can go back home and act like you never even came in the military. I remember thinking, God, once again, why would you do this? This is not making sense. And it's when we go through challenging times like that, when things don't make sense, that's when it's so hard to believe. And I remember thinking, maybe I should just go home. This is my time. Maybe, maybe God just telling me to just quit. So I remember I called my mother up and I talked to her, and Mom said, Terry, God has already done so many miracles for you. You saw what Sergeant Beck, you wanted to quit, and you saw what God did to him, for you to him. Maybe God has a bigger plan. And that's when she quoted the verse and said, Terry, you have to understand, either you believe that all things work together for good or you don't. This is your big test to really trust God. And I wish I could tell you it was easy, but I called back to the commander's office and said, I'm going to stay here. And so I was there in Police Academy, and once again, I could give you story after story. But everything completely came to a head when one thing happened, and let me tell you what it was. When you get to your 2-week mark in Police Academy, everyone has to go to the firing range, and they call it qualifying. And qualifying is the easiest thing that you'll do. It's just simply, what they want to do is just basically make sure that you can shoot a gun straight. And so what they do is that they give you 25 bullets, and you put in the bottom of your M16, and there is a marker probably around 25 yards away. It's not far at all. And it's like a target thing. And all you have to do is shoot 3 bullets anywhere on the target. That's it. And then they'll teach you how to make bullseyes and all that stuff later on. But basically, they just want to make sure that you can take the thing, you can know how to put it in, you can fire it straight. That's it. And so everyone has to do this qualifying. So, I mean, there's almost 100 people there, and it's an all-day process. And so I'm there, and I ran into a couple of my friends from basic training who were in another part of Police Academy, and we're all talking and laughing. And what makes matters even more amazing is that I started a little prayer group up in the chapel. And so every Wednesday, I would just say, hey, those who want prayer, like I used to do by my bed, if you have, during your break, Wednesday evenings, you can just come to the chapel and we'll have a little prayer. And that thing grew to around 20 guys from Police Academy. They would all come and we'd have prayer, and then that would be it. So I was just thinking that this is just amazing how God's already working. And so it's my turn to qualify. And I get there, and there's a line of us. I get my gun. I shoot my 25 bullets. Sit it down. I go back over, and there's some guys from the prayer group there. We're all there laughing and talking. All of a sudden, a voice comes over the loudspeaker. And the voice basically, it's laughing, the person who's talking. And he said, this is the funniest thing in the world. Someone has missed the target altogether. Number 33 has missed the target altogether. I'm laughing, everybody's laughing, thinking, who in the world would miss the target? And then 33, that's me. I realized I was the one who had missed the target altogether. All the guys are just laughing and laughing. So I go over to the instructor, and he says, man, quit being funny. This is the funniest thing ever. He says, no one's never not hit the target before. Here, your gun must just be off. Go ahead, I'm going to have you refire with the next group going up. This is so funny. So I get there, and I'm thinking, okay, now, what in the world? And no one had ever not hit the target before. So they had literally, by this time, stopped everyone on the firing range. So everyone, I looked around, and everyone was watching me, because this was the most amazing thing in the world. I'm there again with 25 bullets. I'm thinking in my mind, hey, maybe God's doing this on purpose, and that way I can tell people about my Wednesday night prayer group. Man, God, you're so great. Once again, we plan, and God laughs. So I get there, and I fire my 25 bullets, sit it down, and I go back, and people are all gathered everywhere, and I'm yelling, that's right, Wednesdays we meet in the chapel. That's right, anyone who wants to come. This time the guy is laughing so hard, you can't even understand a word he's saying over the intercom. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe it. He missed it again. Everyone started cheering and clapping and laughing. And that's when I started thinking, no, this is starting to get serious now. He says, come back over here, come back over here. So I go over to the guy, and tears, I'm not making this up, tears are rolling down his face. He's laughing so hard. He says, man, I've been doing this for 4 years. I don't think I've ever seen anyone not hit one bullet on the target. This is hilarious. He says, man, here, let's just do this. What we're going to do, I'm going to give you my gun to fire with, because your gun's probably just off, and this is it. But I need a good laugh. Here, you go ahead and get my gun, and just go out there and fire the thing. So I'm horrified now, because all eyes are on me. Training instructors who are in other parts of the firing range, they're all running over. And I get there, and there's almost like 200 people all gathered around me, watching me fire. And once again, I fire my 25 bullets. I missed the target again. So you have to understand this now. 75 bullets, and not one single bullet hit a target 25 yards away. And when I get back to the instructor, he is just laughing. He says, man, I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do. He said, I'm gonna have to call the head commander of our area, because I don't know what to do. So he calls his commander up. And all I can remember is the commander must have been yelling so loud, because he was like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'll tell him, yes, sir. And he hangs the phone up. He says, Johnsson, whoa, the commander does not like this. He says he's going to recycle you. Now, recycling in the military, especially the Air Force, it's a bad word. Because what it simply means is that you have to go back 3 to 4 days and do those 3 to 4 days all over again. And you have to understand, like I said, this police academy stuff was not me, and this thought of me thinking that I would have to go back for 3 days was just blowing my mind. I said, sir, there's just no way. I'm not even supposed to be here. I can't go back 3 days. He said, 3 days. He said, the commander said that if you can't hit the target, you need to go back to day 1 of police academy, 2 weeks, and start all over again. And I remember thinking there's just no way. And so sure enough, I had to go back and start all over again. Day 1, jumping from the buildings, everything all over again. But this was the craziest part of all. I'm in my barracks, and it's like 4 days before the next group were coming in. So I'm in the barracks completely alone, 100-person barracks. I'm there every single day by myself in my little bed. And I'll never forget, finally, after being there for like 3 or 4 days, the new sergeant who was going to be in charge of us, he comes in and he's getting his office and stuff together, Sergeant Eddings. And he says, Johnsson, report to my office. So I go to his office. He says, what is wrong with you? Everybody on this base is talking about you. He says, man, you're probably partying, you're drinking, and that's why you can't hit that target. I said, no, sir, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just trying. I said, in fact, I have a Wednesday night little prayer group. And he says, you have a what? I said, I have a Wednesday night prayer group. All of a sudden, he gets a great big smile on his face. He says, you're not going to believe this, but of all the sergeants that you could have been assigned to, I'm a Christian. In fact, I have a Friday night group that I conduct, and I've just been praying because I have to go away for some school training that's going to take me away every Friday for the next 5 weeks. And I've been praying who would teach that class. He says, Johnsson, would you be willing to take your class on Wednesday and combine it with my class on Friday? And you just do whatever you're doing? In fact, if you do that, I'll take you to church every weekend. I'll take you off base and let you be at church, and then I'll pick you up to come back home where you can just get out of here for a little bit. And friends, do you know, for the entire police academy, Sergeant Eddings dropped me off at church on the weekends. The little class that I had of 20 people, when we combined it all together, I had close to 70 people in that little Bible study prayer group. And the most amazing thing of all was this, is that the President's Honor Guard had come recruiting, and if I would have been with my regular group, I would not have been there when the President's Honor Guard came recruiting. Those 2 weeks were the very thing that put me right in time to be selected for the President's Honor Guard. Taught me a valuable lesson. Here I was blaming God, thinking that God didn't know what he was doing. Instead, God was setting me up the entire time. And so once again, I challenge you, maybe you're going through something. Maybe there's something that you're facing. To you, it does not make sense. The more you do, the more twisted it's happening. It's just all this crazy stuff. That is a time to trust God the most. And that's why we have to hold fast to that promise. Not that some things work together for good. Not that some things might possibly work together for good. But we have to believe, even when we don't understand it, all things work together for good for them that love the Lord. Let's pray. Dear God, once again, I thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share with my friends. May they leave here today knowing that if they are facing a challenge, or when they do face a challenge, it's going to be so easy to want to give up. That's the easy thing, is to simply say, I can't do it. But the harder thing, God, is for us to say, we're going to trust you, even though we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I just ask in a very special way, whatever challenges that we might be facing, whatever firing ranges that we might be on, help us to understand you are in control. In your name we pray. Amen.